Well, showers along with cooler temperatures are headed our way. Coming up, the latest First Alert Doppler radar.
And just ahead, thousands protested in the nation's capital as the Senate was in session debating the results of the Electoral College. We'll have all the latest developments on this developing story.
Plus, a family in Thompson is mourning the death of their loved one after he was found dead on New Year's Day. We'll have details on this story and more. Your news and weather on Fox 54 starts now.
Your local news 1 hour earlier. WFXG Fox 54 News Now.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us at 10. I'm Mark Blaine.
And I'm Courtney Hicks. An unbelievable chain of events in Washington, D.C. today where a massive protest turned into total chaos. It's a moment many throughout the country thought they'd never see.
Supporters of President Trump breached the Capitol and marched through the halls of Congress. The building is now secure. Fox News correspondent Lauren Blanchard brings us the latest from Washington.
Federal authorities are on high alert, actively working to make sure the area surrounding the U.S. Capitol is safe and secure from any more threats.
Everybody stay down!
Chilling images capture the scene inside the halls of Congress. Protesters managed to breach security barriers, storming into the Senate chamber and the offices of lawmakers. Some of them getting access to the Senate floor, coming face to face with lawmakers and law enforcement. Washington, D.C.'s mayor put a curfew in place, urging people to stay away.
The behavior that we are witnessing is shameful, unpatriotic, and above all, it is unlawful.
The size of the crowd outside appeared to overwhelm Capitol police officers. Earlier in the day, on the National Mall, President Trump addressed his large crowd of supporters and asked them to march to the Capitol to peacefully protest the results of the 2020 election. Later, the president reacted to the violence.
We have to have peace. So go home.
The chaos interrupted Congress's certification of the 2020 election. Order was restored hours later, and late this evening, Congress met again to continue the process of tallying electoral votes. President-elect Biden called the violent standoff an act of insurrection.
America's so much better than what we've seen today.
Police say a woman who was shot during all of the chaos has now died from her injuries. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox 54 News Now.
And we want to thank Lauren for that. And Mark, we saw this unfold as we walked in for our, shift here at Fox 54. And just, in our lifetime as journalists, as members of the broadcast community, alongside a pandemic, we've never seen anything like this. I lived in D.C. for about 5 years, and that area is so, quarantined off and so well guarded. It just blew my mind how these folks were able to gain access. Just unbelievable turn of events today.
Yeah, it really was. And as we were talking throughout the day, of course, you spent a lot of time in D.C.
I did.
So like you said, people aren't usually allowed to get that close to the building on any given business day. Yeah.
That's right. Still have a brother there, lives in Northwest D.C., not too far from that area. And he decided to leave his home and seek shelter elsewhere for the night. So we're hoping for the safety and well-being of all, and that this situation will come to a peaceful end.
Okay. Thank you so much for that insight, Courtney. We do appreciate it. Meantime, Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler tweeted out about the riot. She does not support the violence that happened and said, quote, "We must stand united as one nation under God. I'm grateful for our brave men and women of law enforcement. May God bless America." In Georgia's Senate runoff elections, AP has called Loeffler's race in favor of her Democratic challenger, Raphael Warnock. We'll have more on the state's twin Senate runoffs in our next half hour.
And back here at home, Augusta Mayor Hardy Davis's office released a statement in response to the protests at the Capitol and says the city is on high alert and is constantly monitoring the situation. And government officials in Columbia County say they are ready and prepared if anything were to happen, but no concerns for any Columbia County buildings.
And the county's GOP chairwoman, Debbie McCord, called what's happening in D.C. unacceptable and says she's embarrassed and ashamed for the country over what Republicans are doing. She said she spoke with someone who was at the protest at the Capitol, and they said it began as a march before a small group got overexcited. McCord says she doesn't believe things will get out of hand in Columbia County, even though some may be upset over the election results. Later in the broadcast, we'll continue our coverage of the developments in the nation's capital.
Well, good evening to you as we take a look at our conditions with our first alert Doppler radar. Dry conditions again for today and in delightful weather. Just a little bit on the cooler side versus what we had the past couple of days. We'll deal with a little bit more of the cloud cover across the area, and this is going to be the beginning phases and what we are in store for coming in the next 24 hours. We'll continue to monitor some of these freezing temperatures well up in the Piedmont area with 39 degrees Augusta Regional, Daniel Field there, 44, warmer spot, 35 degrees there at the Aiken Regional, and the wind directions still remain very calm. Across our area, both sides of the river, we are 35 degrees there for 41 in Louisville, 46 in Swainsboro. We are right at the freezing level of 32 around the Saluda area. The hourly forecast, take a look at it. Coming up at 11 p.m. of 33, by 1 a.m. of 32, by 3 a.m. that temperature there right above the freezing level of 33. We're back up to about 48 degrees later on for tomorrow morning. Now, when we come back, we're going to talk about a storm system that will cause a few problems across the deep southeast. But first, back to our news now. Here's Courtney.
All right, thank you, Jay. Let's get you to an update to a story we first told you about this morning, as the Richmond County Sheriff's Office has arrested 2 suspects in a shooting death that happened on Stevens Creek Road last night. The victim has been identified as 26-year-old Khalid Ravenel of Augusta. Deputies say they found him just before midnight at Rocky Creek Apartments in Augusta and appeared to have sustained at least 1 gunshot wound. Investigators also say they were able to connect 27-year-old Shaquila Fawkes and 25-year-old Kent Wayne Moody to the shooting. Both Fawkes and Moody are charged with murder and possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime.
In Burke County, the Sheriff's Office has opened a homicide investigation that it first classified as a suspicious death. This after deputies early this morning discovered a person dead in the road near the area of Spread Oak Road and Hannah Lane. Investigators say it appeared the victim had been struck by a vehicle. Fox 54 will update you on this case on air and online as soon as we learn more.
And we are also continuing to follow the shooting death of a 41-year-old by the name of Jesse Brown, who authorities say was found dead on New Year's Day in Thompson. Our Sydney Moore spoke with his family today.
Jesse Brown's family didn't get to have the New Year's experience they hoped for. Right after they found out their loved one was shot and killed right back there on Sill Street.
My mind was just racing. I didn't know was my husband still alive. I didn't know if my husband was dead. I didn't know where he shot him at or none of that. It just something that my body just, you know, I was just in a state of shock.
For the last few days, it's been extremely difficult for Jesse Brown's family.
We got to sit here and bury my stepdad. You know, we grieving. I mean, we going through a lot right now.
Brown worked in the Thompson Road Department as a motor grader operator for 15 years. His wife tells me he loved his job and most of all, his family.
He used to say just crazy, you know, just little silly stuff to have us laughing. You know, he was a humble person, give you the shirt off his back. He loved the party. He loved the dance. He was just the life of a party.
Thompson police arrested 20-year-old Twaquavius Harris for the shooting death of Brown.
When they, you know, called him, my mind just went at ease. You know, I know then my husband can rest.
The family tells me they will be saying their final goodbyes this Saturday, but it will be the impact that he left behind that will continue on forever.
Never angry, never mad, always treat people with respect, kind and everything. He was just a good person.
In Thompson, Sydney Moore, Fox 54, News Now.
Well, we're going to take a break from our news there for you. Let's give you the stats for today. We reached a high temperature of about 58 degrees, and we started off very cold at 29. No rainfall, and for the month, very close to about 2 inches. We'll have more news coming up in a moment.
We really have the foundation here in Augusta to be a leader in the world when it comes to cybersecurity and cyber operations.
Still ahead, how the U.S. Army helped the CSRA become one of the country's cyber industry destinations. We're back following the break.
the First Alert Tower Cam Network, sponsored by SRP Federal Credit Union.
Well, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Our local time now about 10:14. These temperatures are starting to drop. As a matter of fact, Mark Hardy at National Hills is holding clear skies in 43, but he says it feels like about 34. We are 39 at the Augusta Regional Airport. The winds are fairly calm. The relative humidity is holding at about 82%, and we still continue to be pretty much dry. No showers across the area for the past 24 hours. That is going to be a different story here within the next 24 hours. We do anticipate these showers to develop. Just to the north of us, a winter storm watch in effect until about, say, midnight there on Saturday. That's going to be Interstate 40 and 85 back over to Charlotte, just to the north of that. We do not have any watches or warnings posted for our area, but you see everything to the west of us, that is headed our way. A couple systems will be developing, and of course that winter weather advisory out of the St. Louis area down into portions of Memphis, that'll go until about 3 p.m. there on Thursday. So here we are, folks, with the system itself. Ridge of high pressure still developing. That's going to be that low traveling right on through, and there's that wintry mix from Charlotte back in the Piedmont area all the way up into the Ohio Valley. Let's get a little bit closer. Let me explain. This is going to be about 5 p.m. on Thursday. Those heavier showers going to be in the outskirts of our viewing area as we advance our map. This is about midnight, and then as we move further into the day there on Friday, it is going to be a cold day, and matter of fact, it's going to be wet and cold. Our temperatures for the highs will only get into the 40s, so do prepare for that. You could see that is that wintry mix just northeast of Atlanta, and with the continuation by 6 a.m. for Saturday morning, things to clear out. We'll be basically back to normal. Our temperatures across the nation itself there, Minneapolis at 25, Denver 28, El Paso 46, Houston there of about 57 degrees, and Florida's not looking bad. As a matter of fact, they'll get down to about 61 currently right now, but overnight temperatures will be ranging into the 50s for them. For tonight, partly cloudy and 32 degrees out of Washington, Aiken of 30, 31 degrees there around Barnwell and Bamberg. Allendale will be about 33 and 32 degrees in Burt County. So we're forecasting 31 for tonight. Wind direction pretty much calm under partly cloudy skies to clear conditions. Late in the day, that's when we start seeing these showers. 58 for the afternoon high. A few of those evening showers will start to develop. And a look at our 7-day forecast. The rain will continue into Friday and only 45 for the high, but look at the overnight temperature Friday night into early Saturday of 28 degrees. So don't forget those 4 P's is very important. Saturday and Sunday is looking good. It will dry out, but temperatures on the cool side, both days about 55. And we'll start off the work week there for Monday. A few of those scattered showers for Monday and Tuesday with temperature there of about 53 to 55. That is a look at your forecast. Let's step out. Let's look at your 7-day. We're back with more news and weather right after this.
Cyber News Now, sponsored by Hickson's Roofing.
It was a courtship years in the making, and now the marriage between the Army Cyber Command and the Georgia Cyber Center is finally official. And as the new year begins, it's already paying dividends for the CSRA. Fox 54's Jacob Peklo takes a look at the partnership in this week's installment of Cyber News Now.
I can't overstate the significance of having Army Cyber Command here at Fort Gordon.
Our cyber, in short, is the reason these buildings exist.
They were the catalyst. Their announcement back in late 2013 that they were moving from Fort Belvoir to Fort Gordon was that catalyst that made the state decide to put the Georgia Cyber Center here in Augusta.
In September, Army Cyber Command officially moved into the Georgia Cyber Center. It is the culmination of months of recruiting pitches and maneuvering.
We have the complete ecosystem that we're building at Fort Gordon. And that ecosystem will enable us to pull together operations, training, doctrine, and equipping all together in one facility.
Moving from the Upper East Coast down to Augusta was a bit harder because of the pandemic, but Al Mollenkoff says the private sector and available academic assets put them in prime position to hit the ground running.
We are going to have a footprint down here at the Georgia Cyber Center that will allow us to gain accelerated access to technologies and experts to help us solve hard problems and more rapidly equip our force.
Partnering with academia and the private sector at a much higher level is no longer a novelty, it's an imperative in order to provide national security in this cyber domain.
With their new central location so close to Fort Gordon, together they'll be able to easily problem solve, collaborate, and stay ahead of their enemies.
And the complexity of doing that job relies on our ability to be very technically agile and have access to partners and innovative technologies that we are certain that we'll be able to gain access to here at the Georgia Cyber Center.
While our cyber creates a target for some cyber criminals, the Cyber Center's executive director understands the potential payoff.
We're very cognizant of those, and we'll continue to mitigate any risks there. But the ability to combine, collaborate, share far outweighs, I think, the security risk.
And at the end of the day, problem solving is the business that we're in, as well as equipping the operational force to make them more effective at conducting their operations.
That was Fox 54's Jacob Peklo reporting. One other benefit our cyber told us about, there's more opportunities for families because the population isn't as dense here as it is in Northern Virginia.
And protesters disrupt the Senate's Electoral College vote debate this afternoon in D.C., prompting similar protests across the country. We'll have more when we come back following the break.
The First Alert Tower Cam Network, sponsored by SRP Federal Credit Union.
Well, if you just now joined us, our temperatures are now starting to drop. We're into the upper 30s to the low 40s across the metro area. But at least we are dry, but that will be a different change in pace coming up, especially on Friday. We're going to be cold and also wet. Down around Fairfax into Barnwell, Bamberg, and Allendale, the dry conditions will continue. Now, we're going to pick up a little bit more of the cloud cover across the region. We're now holding at 40 degrees in McCormick, 41 in Louisville, 40 in Millen, and 41 degrees around the Allendale area. So we're going to call it partly cloudy skies for tonight and pretty much cold conditions because we're going to get down to about 29 degrees in Saluda to 33 degrees in Millen, Washington at 32 and 31 degrees around Barnwell. Here's that hourly forecast. Take a look at it at midnight. We're right above 1 degree above freezing of 33. We're going to be basically flatline there by 2 a.m. of 32 degrees. We're back up to about 48 coming up for tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, we'll take a look at that 7-day forecast in just a few minutes. Back to our news now. Here's Courtney.
All right, thank you, Chief. Supporters of President Trump also gathered in Oklahoma City today to back his claims of fraud in the 2020 presidential election. The MAGA March on the Capitol rally drew dozens outside the Oklahoma State Capitol. In Washington, D.C., several of the president's allies in the House and Senate objected to the electoral certification results inside the Capitol, where the original protest took place today.
And in our next half hour, we'll take you back to Capitol Hill, where despite today's unrest, Congress is back to work debating whether to certify the presidential election results. Stay with us. We will be right back.